Let us build a bridge out of the good greatness we have in common. No more jail now. No more jail now. No more jail now. No more jail.
Get back!
Scroll call before the books, before the legends.
My name is Eric Williams. We're owner of the Silver Room since 1997. Before the Silver Room, I used to be a street peddler. That's how I started. So I used to sell stuff on the streets. So we would travel around the country. I was selling stuff on Chicago Avenue and Rush Street. I was selling t-shirts. I was selling socks. I was on the train. We were selling tickets outside of the Cubs games. We were printing up stuff. So it started off as a street peddling kind of thing. It kind of morphed into more stationary kind of selling at different events that morphed into Let Me Find the Store in Wicker Park because I was tired of selling stuff on the street. I knew I was going to sell silver because I was selling silver at my friend's store down the street. So that was kind of the idea. It was going to be jewelry, initially. And then my father actually owns a bar in Robbins called Manny's Blue Room. It started off as a blues bar, kind of, but now it's like a little bit of everything. He's still there. And so it's kind of like a homage to my father. Like he had the Blue Room, so I was like, I'll do the Silver Room. So that's kind of how it started. Before I opened the store, I had merchandise in my friend's store. It's called Lit X. It was actually down the street. And so it was a retail store / poetry kind of thing. And so that was the first thing that kind of gave me this sense of like, wow, you can do more than one thing in a retail store. And some people saw it as just a poetry venue, where I kind of saw it more as a retail store because you have to stay in business. A lot of my friends are artists, I DJ, so it's just kind of a natural thing to use space more than just for retail because you can. Being in this neighborhood, you run into artists who paint stuff, who do all kind of things, and the space allows them to kind of live out their dreams. You can also use it to help other people, be it people who make jewelry, people who do art, people who perform. So it kind of morphed into a performance space, retail / performance space that can be used to work with other people. Separate what retail is and what events and community are. Things like that. I mean, they're not no like big money makers. I'm just being honest. That's not why we do it. I do it because they need a space to do stuff at. So for me, it's like, okay, if I can cover a little bit of expenses, but they have a great time, I'm okay with that. Maybe later they'll think about the store and buy something, but that's not really the purpose of doing those kind of things. It's just, I just realized this is when I had a store place called Square One, which was a restaurant, how important space is. And I mean, people don't think about that, but if you are a designer and you got a new clothing line and you want to go show your clothing line, where are you going to do it at? You can't do it at a nightclub. If you can do it at the library, well, where are you going to do it at? So we need public spaces that are accessible and affordable for people to show their creation. So that to me is probably the most important part of it when it comes to the events. It's like, yeah, if you make a dope clothing line, you want to do a fashion show here, let's figure out how to do it, Because where else are you going to do it at? I've actually worked with a lot of different colleges for a lot of different reasons, but, when you're a student, your mind is usually pretty open as opposed to somebody who thinks you know everything, So students, they appreciate learning and seeing, and, you have a dream about something and you're still kind of a dreamer. And a lot of times when you're in college, people tell you can't do stuff. I think you come here, you're like, oh, wow, I can actually make a painting, put it on the wall. I can actually design a piece of jewelry and actually put it in a store, So I think it's a connection to reality, from this idea of being a dreamer. I think college students appreciate that. Like, oh, wow, I can do X, Y, or Z. It is possible. And when I was in college, nobody really helped me do anything. So I'm like, if I can give a little bit of, I don't know who I am, but if I can give a little bit of wisdom, I'll try and do it. But and for me, students give you energy too, because they're always excited about stuff, So I'm trying to actually do a couple mentor internships with some students with the design stuff, and so yeah. I think the first thing people always say is about the community. That's a word I always hear, is community, which I guess that means our events in the sense of what the store is about. So the fact that we actually do things beyond just sell retail, and that's actually a big commitment of the store, is to house art and performance and discussion and things outside of just the normal day-to-day retail. I think that's probably the biggest thing that we do. As far as the merchandise, like I said, it's not trendy. I feel like most most stores, most businesses, they have a focused idea of what they're going to sell, forecasting, blah, blah. I just buy stuff I like, So the store sometimes is a little bit of hodgepodge, and maybe for some it might not make sense, but I think people who are open-minded, they'll see that, you got records and like rings and like, but I just buy stuff I like. Most of the things we have in the store are handmade, a lot of local designers, but also travel to find things that are unique. For me, it's not really about what's trendy, it's more about finding things that are unique, So I actually don't like things that are trendy, which is probably sometimes bad for business because people want to buy, do you have the da-da-da? I'm like, if everybody's carrying it, I don't want to carry it. If everybody has it, if it's popular, I don't want to be there. I want to get something that you can't find some other place. I mean, we kind of have a little bit of everything for everybody. Prices range from $10 up to $800. I mean, so it really depends on the person, and that's kind of a big thing about the store for me is to make sure I have different things for different people. And that's something that I enjoy doing that people sometimes don't know we do. But we can pretty much customize anything. So if you have an idea, you can sketch it out. If you have a photo, you've seen it somewhere else, we can usually make stuff, and that's a lot of fun. Because then you're the really only person that had that piece. Everything from like nameplates to rings to, even customized T-shirts. Whatever. So I think kind of being an individual, that you want to have something that's your own. To me, I'm always like, make your own thing. Draw it out, sketch it out, make your own stuff. You're going to go spend money, something you saw in a catalog or on the internet, like make your own thing. It's actually sometimes even cheaper. It's not necessarily always what happens in the store. It's like later, hearing the story of how somebody bought a watch for their grandfather that died and how that watch had meaning. Because you think of these things as just like material items, But I think for me, probably the biggest overall thing is realizing that these things have more meaning than just being material. That it's what's behind them, it's the purpose behind it. Wow, what's kept us in business? I think a constant evolution. I think that's the key for most things. For me, I never get bored. I haven't got bored here. I'm always trying to think of new things or building something new right now, and that kind of keeps the energy going. And also being aware that, the store means different things to different people. So the guy who shopped here 16 years ago, he might have moved on, blah, blah. So the girl who's coming down the street now, it's something new to her. So I'm always aware of the energies that are involved with who's in the store and why they're in the store. And trying to speak to those different people, I think that kind of keeps it vibrant where it's not stale. Obviously, I'm black. A lot of my friends are black. So a lot of my friends come in. I'm from a neighborhood that's black. So you have that. But also, this neighborhood, you have a lot of tourists that come from all over. And a lot of times, they kind of get it more so than the people that live here. They kind of like the vibe, the funkiness of the place. So you have a lot of tourists. I've been here for so long that people have been in the neighborhood. They know that we've been here. So it's a hodgepodge. It is a little bit of everything. And I think that's one of the biggest distinctions between this store and other stores. It's just like everybody comes here. When I go out, people always say, "Who's your customer?" I'm like, "It's everybody." And that word, everybody, doesn't mean things to some people, but we really have old people coming here and the dude from the south side coming here and then the girl from the north shore. It's literally everybody. I think because I think about that when I buy stuff. I'm like, that dude's gonna like this stuff, and that girl's gonna like this stuff. So I purposely buy a lot of different things. So I feel like you can't really come in here and not find anything. I'm always kind of surprised people. I didn't see anything I like. Well, what do you mean you didn't see anything you like? You're gonna find something, But I think about that, when I buy.
How have you seen the community evolve?
Or devolve?
How do you want to put that?
It used to be a community. It used to be people. It was kind of like a neighborhood of I don't know, renegades. You kind of knew the people around here were on something a little different. No matter what you looked like or who you were, just being around here, you were on something different. So there was a sense of community just from that, And then, the clubs or the bars or the cafes that were open, you were excited about them being here because you were excited there was something for you to do. Like, wow, there's actually Yo Mama's Cafe is here. And I remember when that opened up, or Orbis Orbis on 4th Avenue, or these. Because it wasn't really about, it wasn't a place that was about commerce. It was about expression. That kind of changed when people saw, wow, we can make some money off of this. So you see businesses popping up that weren't really about art, creativity, community, expression. They were about, let's try and make some money. So you saw that change, and you could feel that vibe right away. I can feel it right away. So it's changed from that to now, like I said, you walk down the street, 7 out of 10 businesses are corporations. They're here to make money, which is fine, but it's not going to be the same energy. Because people always say, oh, Wicker Park Independent. I always say, stay right here, walk down the street, count the number of stores that are independent stores, and come back, and we'll have a discussion. And they come back and say, oh, yeah, you're right. So it's this idea kind of perceives the actual reality of what the neighborhood really is. The chains know they have to kind of compete with local businesses, so they do like this, like, it's a word for I just learned the other day, but it's basically it's like a chain trying to mimic an independent store, but they have the money of a chain store. You know, a lot of times creativity comes from lack of resources. So you'd be like, man, I would like to do this, but I can't do this, so man, I gotta go do this, you know? That's all I can do. And you're like, oh, that's dope. You're like, man, I just did it because I had nothing else. That's all I can do, you know? So a lot of times people, that's you being creative because you can't do what you probably really want to do. You gotta make it work. We, in general, are not a culture of entrepreneurs like we used to be. We used to be. Now we're really not. You know, and you see other cultures, it's just what they do. The father, the grandfather, the great-grandfather owned some store or did some service or whatever, and it's kind of taught to, you know, the kids. And you ask somebody, why do you do this? Well, my father did it. He taught me when I was a little kid. Now I'm doing it, you know. That's not something we really do. And I think the way that we need to really become successful is to think about doing things for yourself. At least have an ability to. I was at the Taste of something. I think it was in Lincoln Park. And, you know, I would sell stuff at other festivals. So I would pick jewelry, blah, 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 go to the festival, sell. And it was just horrible. That's how I started. I didn't like doing that anymore. And the festival was just really bad because it was just, I didn't like the music, the people weren't really my thing, the food wasn't my thing. And we were leaving, and it's a longer story, but this guy did something to a friend of mine that I didn't really appreciate. You know, and I was like, this is not good. I mean, I'm spending all this time and money for somebody else's festival. I wish there was a festival that spoke to me. And I'm like, well, I'll just do one myself. You know, I'll just put it together a little small, you know. And the next year I told my friend Ron Trent, who's a DJ, I'm like, man, we should do like a little small thing. It was actually in the alley. You remember the first block party was actually in the alley down the street, the first 2 or 3. And I had a sound system, we pulled it out and we put it on bricks, and Pavin Everett was in, you know, he said he would play, and Jesse and Eric Roberson was in town, and Change For Me had just come out, that was kind of a big song. And we kind of just did it in the alley, and it was cool. And everybody's like, you should do it again next week. I'm like, I ain't doing it next week, maybe next year. So it kind of started off as something small. Then the following year we did it, and it got bigger, and it was kind of like, yeah, do it again. So it was like 11 years later, but it's grown from, it was a couple hundred people maybe to, you know, so it's nice. I enjoy it. Started Grown Folk Stories about 4.5 years ago. It's another event we started in the store because me and my friend Carl began, and she's a host. We talk every morning, and we always got some crazy story about something that happened. And so I was joking about we should start at night. And I remember the day, actually, Krista Franklin was the one who was like, you should do it. I never forget her saying it. I'm like, all right, we should do it, you know? And I was like, we should start this night of us talking and telling stories. So basically what it is, it's a night of people telling 5-minute stories about anything. It could be sad, it could be funny. We ask that there be true stories. It's not poetry, it's not written. It's just an interesting story of something that either has happened to you or something that was told to you. Like literally, it was like 15 people we started it, you know, and now it's packed, you know. So, but it's fun. I think it's authentic, it's real, and people enjoy hearing other people's stories face to face, not on the phone, not, you know, whatever else, you know. We're building something right now. We're gonna have some new merchandise in. I'm gonna start selling other things. So an expansion of the product line for this store is number one. Just expanding what we sell. Maybe another store somewhere.
Oh.
Man, you just call me. I'm old school, man. Just call, give me a call. 773-278-7130. TheSilverRoom.com. Like us on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. We are on Pinterest. We are on Vimeo. We are on all that stuff. You know, you can find us. We right here. Support BRIJ, give black.
Word to Booney, I makes a lot like a Sunni. Get diplomatic immunity, and every ghetto community had opportunity. Went from hood shock to hood chic, but it ain't what you cop, it's about what you keep. And even if they're leaks, you can't capsize some shit, because I baptize my lips every time I take sip. You can get the money, you can get the power. Keep your eyes on